Happy Friday, guys. Nice to see you. I'm Rachel for anybody who is moving in while I do this introduction. I'm a Pilates instructor and PT here locally in Palo Alto. This is a 45-minute class. We flow through exercises at a pretty gentle but flowing pace. So if there's something that doesn't feel right for you, absolutely stop. Listen for modifications. I'll be able to give several modifications. But again, if they don't feel good for you, every day is a little bit of a new adventure. I totally understand that and agree. So if there's anything that doesn't feel good for you today, even if it did feel okay the last time you did it, back off, find something else to do, even if it's just a few deep breaths and maybe an arm overhead stretch. And then we'll move on when you feel ready to join. Be sure to take some deep breaths intermittently during each exercise. Definitely encourage you to keep breathing. Try not to hold your breath through any of the exercises, even if there's spots that feel tight, things that feel challenging. That breath work will absolutely help you make some of these exercises a little bit easier as we go. But let's get started. We're going to start our 45-minute timer now, and we're going to start standing today. So we'll start standing up on our mats, get that mat lined up so you can see what I'm doing, whether you want to face your screen or whether you want to be off to the side, I'll leave that up to you. But we're going to start with our feet hip width apart. Those heels will be lined up with each of our sit bones. Knees are not locked out. They're going to be nice and straight, but a little bit soft. You want to have a little give and a little shock absorption in those knees. We're going to draw our bellies and spines gently toward each other, like we're tightening a little seat belt right around our waistline, maybe even down toward our hips, the tops of our hips. We're going to keep those muscles nice and active as we take a big breath in, bringing those arms up and overhead. We'll keep those core muscles active as we exhale and bring those arms down by our sides. One more time, big breath in, arms come up. Big breath out, we'll take them out to the sides and down by our bodies. And let's roll those shoulders back and down in circles, keeping that weight centered right at the front of our ankle joints on either side. Roll those shoulders back, up toward the ears, back toward each other, down toward the floor. And let's reverse it. We'll take them up and forward for 4, for 3, for 2, and for 1. Let's center ourselves again over the very front of the ankle joints where your shoelaces would be if you were wearing shoes right now. We're going to lift our toes up. Notice that your arches lift up from the floor just a touch. The base of the big toe, the base of that pinky toe, and your heel are pressing firmly into the floor right now, keeping it nice and stable. Equal weight on both feet. Spread those toes apart. See if you can take them down one at a time. Pinky toe first, then 4th, 3rd, 2nd, and finally that big toe comes to the floor. Lift the toes, spread them apart, take them down one at a time. Working our balance muscles, giving our feet some input. Sometimes those toes can get a little tingly. Sometimes it can feel like we're walking on cotton balls. This gives those toes something meaningful, and those muscles and nerve endings in the bottom of the feet, something meaningful to do. We'll connect them to the floor. Pinky comes down, then the 4th, 3rd, 2nd, and finally that big toe comes to the floor. We're going to press our feet firmly into the mat. Let's take our hands right to our midsection. The heels of the hands are going to be right over the sides of the pelvis, and those fingertips are going to be pointing right in toward that belly button. Let's shift our weight toward our toes and toward our heels, bringing your attention to what you feel under your hands. You should feel a little bit of muscle kicking in at different points in that range. As you hit your toes and as you hit your heels, we're hitting those end ranges of our base of support. Now those core muscles will kick in to keep you from coming forward onto your nose and coming backward onto your bottom. Let's rock our weight right over the front of those ankle joints again. And now we'll shift our feet side to side, or shift our weight side to side, rather, pushing the floor away with our feet. You'll feel those glute muscles, those sides and backs of the hips working as we bear weight on one side and then as we transfer it to the other. And if you take your fingertips to your waistline, you'll feel some muscles kicking in front underneath those fingertips and also in back by your thumbs. As we shift that weight from foot to foot, it'll change. The side that's working harder or activating more will change as we move from foot to foot. Let's make some little circles around our base of support now. Again, feel those muscles turn on and off underneath your fingertips and your thumbs as we move from one side to the other. And then let's shift and we'll circle the opposite way. Forward, sideways, and back. We're thinking about keeping that crown of the head reaching all the way up toward the ceiling as we circle. And we're using gravity, using physics to warm up our trunks. All right, let's line up our weight over the front of those ankle joints again. Now we'll spread those feet apart. We're going to turn our toes out to the sides, pointing those feet toward each of the opposite bottom corners of your room. Now we're going to settle the weight down toward our heels, soften up those knees a bit more, a little bit of a bend in those knees now. Those sit bones are pointing directly to the floor. Again, we draw the belly and spine gently toward each other. Tighten that seatbelt between your hip bones. Let's take a big breath in again, this time pausing with those arms up in a Y. Fingertips reach up toward those upper corners of the room. And keeping that belly nice and active, we're going to tip our body to one side. Take a side bend, pointing the crown of the head all the way up toward that top corner of the room. Inhale up tall, and we'll exhale, side bend. Control that side bend off to the other side, feeling those muscles working. Inhale up, exhale, and side bend. Inhale up, exhale, and side bend. Good. Let's take those arms up to the ceiling again. We'll bring them down by our sides, and let's shake those shoulders, circle them out as we make a quarter turn. So we're resting facing lengthwise on that mat. We'll drop those shoulders down. Let's get our feet shoulder width apart now. We'll settle the weight right into the front of the ankle joints. Soften up those knees. We're going to bend from our hips now. That trunk and head stay nice and aligned up with each other, nice and stable. Let's send that tailbone back to the wall behind us and the crown of the head forward to the wall in front of us. We're going to pause at that first point of resistance behind those thighs. Your back should feel like nothing's going on, nice and stable. If you are not feeling much in your hips, but your back the legs rather, but you are feeling your back, come up a little taller and bend those knees a touch more. Send that tailbone back toward where the wall and the floor meet and behind you. Now from here, we'll hinge. We're going to try to get that body parallel to the mat. That'll give you a nice stretch through those glutes, a little stretch through those hamstrings, right where the back of the knees, where those muscles connect to the back of the knee. Let's float our arms down toward the floor. Arms are vertical. You can shake them around a little, make sure they're nice and loose. Draw your belly up toward the spine again. And we're going to row. We're going to keep our legs nice and still. Squeeze those shoulder blades together. Reach your elbows up till they line up with the trunk. And then float those arms to the floor. Inhale, squeeze and row. Exhale, arms to the floor. Inhale, row. Exhale, release. Inhale, row. Exhale, release. Inhale, let's row those elbows back by our sides. Shoulder blades are going to stay squeezed. Let's press through our triceps. Straighten those elbows. Bring those fingers toward the wall behind us. Bend the elbows. Press them straight. Bend and press. Feel free to shift your weight back a little bit farther towards your heels if you need a little more support. Press those elbows straight for 4, for 3, for 2, and for 1. Let's take those hands toward the floor. Bend the knees up as much as you need to get your hands on the floor. And we're going to walk ourselves forward. We have the option here of either coming down straight to hands and knees or popping ourselves up toward a downward dog or upside down V position. If you're in that down dog, that tailbone is going to press toward the ceiling, and we're going to lower our heels to the floor. If your knees are on the mat and you're on all fours already, let's press that bottom back toward the heels. Hold for a breath wherever you are. Exhale, draw that belly a little closer to the spine. Everybody's going to come forward to our hands and knees now, and we're going to rock through a few cats and cows. We're going to warm up that core, warm up that low back in a different orientation to gravity. Draw that belly up to the ceiling, curl your lower back. We're going to look toward our thighs and then release. Send that tailbone to the ceiling, look forward toward the wall. Curl to cat, release to cow. One more time, curl to cat, release to cow. Take that body right back to all fours. Shoulders stay nice and still. Let's wag that tail. Bring a hip to a shoulder and then the other hip toward the other shoulder. Again, we're warming up those side muscles now. Different orientation to gravity than we were doing when we were standing. Take the hips side to side. Last 2. Last 1. Take them right back to the middle. We'll bring our feet together, our knees apart, and let's draw that bottom back toward the heels. Once it's there, walk your hands forward toward the front of the mat. You want to pause at that first point of resistance underneath the arms. Maybe it's a stretch through those armpit muscles. Maybe it's a stretch through the side of your trunk. Maybe you feel pulling down the inside of the arm. I want you to respect that pulling. We're going to work within the range that's working for you right now. We're going to take a big breath here wherever that first stopping point is. And as we exhale, draw those shoulder blades forward toward your mat. You're going to feel a little stretch through the upper back as you do so. If you feel a lot of tightness under those armpits or in those upper arms, drop your forearms to the floor. Let those elbows bend. That's okay. Hold here for a breath. Breathe it out. One more time. Big breath in here. Exhale. Everybody drop those forearms to the floor. We're going to make our way onto our backs. We're first going to shift our weight forward over those forearms. We'll extend those legs out behind our body, and then let's roll over. The back of the head, that middle back between those shoulder blades, and that sacrum, the area of your low back right beneath your waistline, are going to be firmly anchored into the mat. Let's bring our hands down by our sides and line our heels up with our sit bones. Those shins are just shy of vertical here. We're gonna picture a clock face on our trunk and belly, 12 o'clock up by that breastbone, 6 o'clock by the pubic bone, 3 o'clock and 9 o'clock are on either side. We're gonna wiggle those hips. We're gonna wiggle that pelvis toward 12 o'clock by shortening the pubic bone toward the breastbone, letting that low back press into the mat. Keep that chin gently nodded toward the neck as we lengthen our pubic bones down the other direction away from that breastbone. There's 6 o'clock. Curl to 12, release to 6. Our feet are going along for the ride. They're pushing very gently into the floor as we curl that pelvis to 12. But the main crux of this effort is coming right from those trunk muscles, right below that belly button. Lengthen the pubic bone towards 6. We'll take it right back to neutral. If I were balancing a bowl of water between my hip bones, that water would be directly facing our ceiling right now. Let's take that pelvis from 3 o'clock to 9 o'clock, rocking the hip farthest from the screen up to the ceiling, and then switching it, rocking that hip down as the hip closest to the screen comes up. Rock to 3, keep those shoulder blades down, rock to 9. Let's keep moving in this rotational plane. We're thinking about widening the collarbones away from the center of the body, letting that pelvis direct the motion, and feeling how our feet are pressing unevenly into the floor. We have a little more pressure through the foot on the side of that hip that's lifting, and then we switch to our other side. One more time, let's rock that pelvis to 3 o'clock. We'll rock it to 9 o'clock. Let's take it right back to the center. Big breath in. Exhale, draw that belly to the spine like we're tightening a seatbelt of muscles between those two hip bones. And with those hands firmly pressed into the mat, we're gonna bring one knee up to 90 degrees. Keep that belly down. We'll bring the other knee up to meet that leg in tabletop. 90 degrees at the hips, 90 degrees at those shins. If you need a little extra support for your low back, pull those knees a little bit closer to your trunk. We're maintaining that parallel position with those shins, however. Hold in there, take a big breath in. Exhale, belly to spine. Let's hover our hands up off the floor. And if you have a little more room to move and good control through that trunk, we can straighten our legs to that first point of resistance, just like we did in standing when we bent forward from our hips. Hold that line of extension, bringing those feet all the way to the ceiling if you can. And as we exhale, we're gonna nod the chin. Maybe we reach that head up off the floor. Let's hover our hands up as well. We're gonna inhale for 5 counts and exhale for 5 counts while pressing those hands up and down as if we're dribbling little tiny basketballs. Feel free to lower that head at any point if you do need more support for your neck. Maybe we bend the knees as we pat those hands up and down. Maybe we have a kickstand down. All 3 are great options. Inhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, breathe it out. Inhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, and exhale. Inhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, exhale. Inhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, exhale. One more big breath here. 2, 3, 4, 5, breathe it out. 2, 3, 4, 5. We're gonna pause. We're gonna reach those fingertips toward the wall in front of us. Bend the knees to tabletop from wherever they are. If you've had a kickstand on the floor, lift that other leg up to meet that free leg. We're gonna curl that upper body down if it's been lifted, and keeping our hands hovered off the floor, let's draw both knees in toward our shoulders. That's gonna let us flatten that lower back into the floor, and we're gonna curl that tail, tuck it between the legs just a touch. Let's float our arms to the ceiling now. Big breath in. As we exhale, nod your chin toward your neck, drop that breastbone, and drop that belly toward the spine. Keeping our hands where they are, let's bring those knees back up to that 90-degree tabletop position, and we'll reach our shoulder blades up to the ceiling and float them down to the floor. Again, reach into the ceiling, float them back down. Inhale and reach, exhale, lower down. Inhale, reach, exhale, and lower. Let's take it up and down. Here's 4 and 3. Last 2 and 1. Reach those blades up, draw them to the floor. Let's extend our arms forward toward the wall in front of us, palms facing in on the body. We can barely touch those pinkies to the floor. Hold them there. Drop those shoulder blades to the mat as well. Let's keep that leg farthest from the screen, anchored in that tabletop position. And with the belly drawn in, we're gonna press our opposite leg forward to the wall in front of us. That foot's gonna be hovered a couple of feet up off the floor. Inhale to tabletop, exhale and switch. Keep that pattern going. Maybe we turn our palms down to the mat, pressing the backs of the arms into the floor for a little additional trunk stability. Switch up those legs. Here's 4, 3, 2, and 1. That far knee is gonna stay pulled into the chest. Give it a little hug with that arm. And we're gonna lower that opposite leg down with a straight knee till that heel's just barely hovered up off the floor. Let's hold on to that bent knee with both hands now. Nod the chin toward the neck. If you'd like to raise the head and or the upper body, you're welcome to do so. And we're gonna take our straight leg and draw some circles on the ceiling, on the wall in front of us with those toes. Ceiling comes later, I promise. Let's circle the other way. Reach those toes forward. Here's 4, 3, 2, and 1. Stretch that foot forward, lower your heel to the mat. Curl that upper body down if it's been lifted. And we're gonna take that bent knee, cross it over the body. Give it a little wiggle. Rock out that low back just a touch. You're welcome to lift that hip on the side opposite your screen up from the mat just a touch. Take a big breath in. As we exhale, we'll pull right back to the middle, draw the belly into the spine. We're gonna switch. We're gonna pull that other knee into the chest. We'll press that opposite leg forward, first hovering it a few feet up off the floor. We're gonna lower it down to that heel is barely hovered up off the mat. And let's nod the chin, raising the upper body if we'd like. And we're gonna move out of that hip joint, circling those toes to the wall in front of us. You're welcome to put your hand on the front of the hip on that straight leg side, ensuring that that's where the motion's coming from. Switch it up, circle the other way. Good. Here's 3. Here's 2. Here's 1. Stretch that leg forward, lower the heel to the floor. Curl that upper body down if it's been lifted, and let's draw that bent knee across the body away from that screen, letting that hip closest to the screen wiggle up off the mat. Big breath in and big breath out. Take it right back to the center. We're gonna hold behind our thigh on that bent knee side. Tighten up the quad, tighten up the front of that thigh on the leg that's resting on the mat. And we're gonna extend that other knee, bringing our foot to the ceiling. Again, find that first point of resistance behind the thigh. You don't wanna be fighting yourself too much at the front of the hip. Let's flex and point our foot, loosening up all those connective tissues, letting them slide through the back of the leg. Pointing those toes to the ceiling, we'll keep a hold of the back of that thigh, and let's draw our bellies down toward the mat. Picture the muscles right underneath that navel, lifting and lowering that supporting leg up off the floor. Yes, your hip flexors are doing some work. Yes, those thighs are doing some work. See if you can picture that lower part of your trunk, lower part of your core controlling that motion. Let's lower that hovered leg to the mat, and we're going to take our arms right to the ceiling. If you need to re-enter some slack into the system, bend that lifted leg. And we're going to take it side to side. Start small. Draw a small line on the ceiling with that big toe. If your knee's a little bit bent, picture a pencil coming out of that kneecap. We're keeping those hip bones facing the ceiling as if they have laser pointers on them. Drawing 2 dots right up above us. Maybe we make that line a little bit bigger. Challenge that trunk. And let's sweep through some circles. Stir that hip in its socket as now we make those circles on the ceiling I was talking about earlier. Twice more this direction. And let's pause at the top. Take a big breath in. Exhaling, circle it the other way. Here's 4, 3, 2, and 1. Let's bend that knee into the chest. Give it a little hug. We'll massage out that low back and hip. Take it side to side. Coming back to the middle, draw that belly in, and let's switch our legs. Opposite knee pulls in, we'll slide the other leg out straight, tighten up the front of that thigh, hang on behind that bent knee, and we'll extend our leg up toward the ceiling. Again, finding that first point of resistance, and then flexing and pointing through that ankle. We can roll those shoulders back and down a bit if you feel like they're pulling up toward the ceiling. Pointing those toes now, we'll keep our bellies down and use those lower abs to float that hovered leg up off the floor a little further and to control it down to the mat. Lift and lower, up and down. Good, twice more. Lift, lower that leg down, keep that thigh nice and active as we take our arms to the ceiling. Drop those blades, and again, if you need to enter a little slack in, we could bend that lifted leg. Take it side to side. Again, the pencil's coming right out of the tip of the kneecap, tracing that line on the ceiling, or it's coming off the toes if that leg is straight. Point those hip bones directly up in front of you. And maybe we challenge that range a little bit. Take it side to side a little farther. Let's move through some circles. Stir that hip in its socket. Decide if you need that knee a little straighter, a little more bent. We go by what works. Pause at the top. Reset. Let's circle the other way. Exhale for 4. Here's 3. Last 2. And one. Hang on behind that thigh. We're gonna roll those shoulders back and down. Support that thigh with our hands, make a little sling for it, and we're gonna press that thigh directly into the hands and hover our supporting leg up off the mat. Keeping the shoulders down, we'll nod that chin, maybe lifting it up off the mat. Switch through. Let's lift the other leg straight up toward the ceiling. Switch the grip and control the other leg down. Inhale, lift, exhale, and switch. It is, again, absolutely fine to flex those knees a little bit. Our goal here is to keep those hips working in their same range that you can control them through. If your knees are bent, they stay bent the same amount the whole time. Let's switch it up here for 4, 3, last 2, and 1. Let's pull those knees to the ceiling. Hang on to those kneecaps. We'll curl the upper body down if it's been lifted, and let's hug those knees into the chest. Give them a nice hug, open up that low back a touch, and we're gonna look toward our screen. Big breath in. Exhale, let's look to the other side. Inhale, we'll look back to the middle. Let's bring our thighs back up vertical, bring those shins back up parallel to the ceiling, and float those arms back up to the ceiling as well. Keeping the belly drawn down, we'll move through diagonal stretches. Arm closest to the screen comes back overhead as that opposite leg stretches toward the wall in front. Inhale through the middle and exhale, switch. Keep that moving at your own pace. We could extend that straight leg down almost to the mat. We could take a little bit of work out of that core by extending that leg a little bit closer up to where the wall and ceiling meet. You pick the angle that's working for you, and we'll stretch through alternating for 4, for 3, for 2, and for 1. Let's pull the thighs back up to vertical. Hang on behind them like we're holding a little sling behind those thighs, and let's rock that body side to side. Big breath in, big breath out. Let's come right back to the middle and flex those feet. Point and flex, shake those ankles out of touch. We'll pause with them flexed, heels reaching toward the wall in front of us, toes pulling towards your kneecaps. Let's take our hands down by our sides, about 30 degrees away from the trunk, little air coming into those armpits. We're gonna press our shoulder blades down, draw that belly down, tucking that pelvis slightly toward 12 o'clock for a nice flat back position. And we're gonna rock those knees toward our screen, letting the opposite hip lift up a touch. Inhale, center, exhale, rotate the other direction. We could bring our knees and ankles together, drive that motion through your hands. As you push back to neutral, press the hand on the side that you've been rotating toward firmly into the floor to help control that trunk. We'll take those knees side to side. Here's 4, 3, 2, good job. Last one, take it back to the middle and let's stretch both legs to the ceiling. We're coming close to forming an L with our body and those thighs. Again, find that resistance point behind the legs. Keep a little bend if you need to. Otherwise, we straighten those knees and point our toes to the ceiling. Let's bring our fingers in a little closer to the trunk. Take a big breath in and exhale, reset that belly to the spine. We're gonna flex our feet again. Heels stay together. Turn those toes out slightly, making a narrow V with the feet, letting those kneecaps point away from each other. Hold them here for a big breath. As we exhale, draw the belly into the spine. As we inhale, bend those knees, bringing our heels toward your pubic bone, knees out to the side. Exhale, we're gonna press those heels toward the ceiling, knees come together. Inhale, bend to frog. Exhale, press them away. Again, inhale, bend to frog. Exhale and press. Keep it going. We could be pressing our heels straight to the ceiling. We could be pressing our heels forward toward where the wall and the ceiling meet. We could be pressing our heels forward halfway down the wall, depending on how much work we want to make that core do. We're gonna repeat and press at your angle that works for you. Here's 4. Inhale, pull it in. Exhale, press for 3. Inhale, center. Feel those inner thighs doing some work. Exhale, press for 2. Back to the center. Exhale, press for 1. Pull those knees back to tabletop. We're gonna lower a heel to the floor, lower the other one to meet it, and let's lower those toes down to the mat as well. Release that trunk once those feet are flat on the floor, and we're gonna rock our knees side to side, away from the screen and toward that screen. Shift it for 4, for 3, for 2, and for 1. Coming right back up to the center. We'll inch those heels a little closer to our bottoms. Let's walk our hands in by our sides. Take a big breath in And on that exhale, draw the belly and spine together toward each other. Press through those heels, squeeze those glutes. We're gonna lift up into bridge. Again, find that first point of resistance. How high can you lift those thighs, those hips, before you feel some stretch here, or simply that those hips won't take you any higher? Find that point, take a big breath in, exhale, lower back down. Let's repeat at your own pace, pressing up and lowering down. We want to take those hips as high up as we can without feeling it in the low back. This should all be in those glutes. That waistline should be nice and calm. That belly should be drawn down toward the spine. Press and lower. Let's press up and hold our next bridge at the top. Draw those shoulder blades down to the mat and keeping those thighs right where they are. Let's go up and down on our toes. Lift and lower those heels. Focus on keeping your big toes pressed firmly into the floor. That's going to keep this exercise real close to those hips. We'll feel a stretch in front. We'll feel those glutes working in back. Take those toes up or heels up and down for 4, for 3, for 2, and for 1. Heels come down, breathe it in, exhale, bridging down. Release at the bottom when those glutes touch the mat, and we'll rock our knees side to side. Take that tension off the lower back. Big breath in, big breath out. One more time, big breath in, exhale. Let's take it back to neutral, breathing in. As we exhale, we'll bridge up and hold again. Keeping those big toes on the floor and those pinkies on the floor. We'll take a knee out to the side, bring it back to the center, and switch it up. Goal here is to keep those hips lifted, to keep those feet flat on the floor as we move our knees. If you want to make this more challenging, we could cross our arms over that chest, taking those lats out of the picture, making those glutes do the work. Maybe our arms come up to the ceiling. Still keeping the work in the glutes, but we give ourselves a little counterbalance. Let's take those knees side to side. Here's 4, switch for 3, last 2, and 1. Arms are gonna float down, big breath in, exhale, bridging down. Release those glutes at the bottom, taking a breath in, rock those knees side to side. Big breath in, big breath out. Side to side, one more time to each. Exhale those knees back up to the center. We're gonna shift our heels a little closer to that bottom. We'll finish our bridging series with some marches. Let's take a big breath in. Breathe out, belly to spine. Press those hips up into bridge. Find that natural stopping point and squeeze those glutes. Let's march. One knee to tabletop, float it back down. Opposite side lifts. Keep that pattern going, again, with the goal of keeping those hips nice and stable. The front of the pelvis pointing directly to the ceiling as we march those legs. Switch them up for 8, 7, 6, 5. Here's 4, 3. Last 2. Good job. Last 1. Press that foot into the floor. Breathe it in. Exhale, bridging down. Release those glutes at the bottom. Let's rock through pelvic clock. 12 to 6. Big breaths in and big breaths out. Take that pelvis back to neutral and we'll rock it toward the screen and away. Again, toward that screen and away. Back to the middle. Let's take our arms up to the ceiling. As we exhale, we're going to lower that chin down toward the neck. Drop the breastbone down. Picture your lowest ribs folding down, anchoring into the mat. Drop that belly toward the spine. Let's open those arms up back overhead, keeping those connections with the mat. Pause at the first point of resistance, either on the side of the trunk, under those arms, or along the sides of the arms. Hold them there. Let's slide our legs out as straight as we can get them, keeping those same connections. The curve in the low back is staying nice and still. What if we walk one leg up and down and then the other? Reach your fingertips as far away from your feet as you can. If it's really difficult to control and that rib cage feels like it's popping up off the floor, drop those ribs and bend the knees. We'll move through a march. Let's alternate and lift, whether those knees are bent or straight. Here's 4. Switch for 3. Last 2. And 1. Release when that heel touches the floor. Take a big breath and stretch those arms overhead. Exhale, we'll take them up to the ceiling and arc them down to the mat in front of us. And let's bend up our knees, making our way onto all fours. All right. If you need a little extra padding for your knees, feel free to double your mat over right underneath those shins. Give you a little more cushion. Once we're up on hands and knees, let's keep that belly drawn in toward the spine, and we'll rock through cat, release to cow. Curl it and release. Press those shoulder blades firmly to the floor. If those shoulders are feeling nice and strong and that core is working nicely for you, we could progress if you'd like. Keep going under those knees to cat, releasing the cow. Knees are down or up. We're going to do twice more. Curl to cat, release to cow. One more time. Curl to cat, release to cow. Take it to neutral. Knees come down if they've been lifted. And let's wag that tail side to side, taking a hip toward the screen and away. Big breaths in, big breaths out. Take it right back to neutral. Reset those hands. Fingers are spread wide apart from each other. And let's press those shoulder blades to the floor. Keep those elbows straight. Squeeze those blades back behind the body. Press forward, release and squeeze. Press and squeeze, press and squeeze. Keep this going. If this is challenging enough on those wrists, those forearms, those underarm muscles, stay right where you are. Otherwise, we're going to switch to single arm. One hand comes to the thigh. Keep those shoulders nice and squared off to the mat. And again, we'll press up and down through that supporting side. Good. Keep breathing at intervals that work for you. Switch hands if we're on single arm. If you haven't switched and you want to try, absolutely feel free. Test the waters a bit. Press and squeeze for 4, for 3, last 2, and 1. Hands come down. Let's bring that bottom back to the heels. Drop the forearms down, shake those wrists out. Big breath in. Exhale, those wrists in circles if you'd like. We're going to pop ourselves back up to hands and knees. Draw those shoulder blades to the floor and keep them there this time. And let's do some shoulder taps. We're going to work those trunk muscles a bit more. We're going to take the hand farthest from the screen, bend that elbow, tap your hand to your shoulder, float it back down and switch. Alternate through at your own speed. We're controlling our trunk and pelvis versus rotational forces. If you had something balanced in the small of your back, you want to keep it nice and still. And just pay attention to the differences in how your knees are pressing into the mat as we shift from hand to hand. There's going to be a little difference in how those knees are pressing into the mat as well. Let's take both hands to the floor. We can't really tap our knees or tap our feet to our hips, but we can unweight a knee and then reload it. So we're going to shift our weight slightly away from our screen. Unlift the other leg, unweight that other leg from the floor. Let's take it out to the side, float it back into the other knee. Swing it out, float it back to the center. Let's repeat for 4, for 3. Feel that other hand pressing into the floor to control that trunk rotation. All right, we'll take that knee down. Let's shift to the other side. Big breath in. Exhaling, we'll unweight that opposite shin. Swing it out to the side, float it back to the center. Side to side. Press that far arm firmly into the mat. Swing for 2. And 1. Let's take that knee down, shake the wrists out if you need to. And we're going to take one leg back and stretch the opposite arm forward. Float it back to center, switch it up. Again, whatever object you try to keep balanced in the small of your back with those other exercises, keep that going with this. Good, reach that arm and leg as far away from each other as you can. Press through those shoulders, switch it for 4. Here's 3, 2, and 1. Hands come down, feet together, knees apart. Press that bottom back toward the heels. Walk those hands toward the front of your mat. Give that upper back a stretch. Forehead drops down, big breath in. Exhale. One more time, big breath in. Exhale, shoulder blades drop to the floor, forearms come down. Let's shift our weight over those forearms, moving those shins in so they're parallel to each other again. Head is lower than the hips. If this does not feel good on your head, come back up to hands and knees. We're going to keep our knees bent here. Take a big breath in. As we exhale, let's press one foot to the ceiling. Keep that knee bent. Lower the knee to the mat. Press it up. Lower it down. Press and lower. Press and hold, thigh stay still, straighten and bend that knee for 4, for 3, for 2, for 1. Flex the foot, kick the heel to the ceiling for 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Float that knee down, take a breath. As we exhale, we'll switch. Opposite leg floats up. Find that stopping point. Belly draws in. Control the knee down. Press it up. Control it down. Press. Bring it down. Press. Bring it down. Press that leg up. Hold the thigh still. Straighten and bend that knee. Here's 4. Here's 3. Last 2. And 1. Hold it there. Flex that foot. Pulse to the ceiling. Here's 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Float that knee back down. Feet together, knees apart. Let's drop the bottom down toward the heels and walk those hands toward the front of your mat, dropping that forehead down. Big breath in. Exhale, drop those shoulder blades forward to the mat. You should feel a nice stretch under those arms. If it's too much pulling, bend those elbows. Let's walk our hands toward our screen. Pause hand over hand, feeling that nice side bend in the opposite side of the body. Big breath in. Breathing out, we'll walk our hands to the other side. Again, hand over hand. Breathe into that side stretch. Exhale, hands come right back to the middle. We're going to bring ourselves up and we'll take a long sitting position on our mat. We're going to get those feet stretched out in front of us just a touch. Knees are going to still be bent and we're going to be sitting right in front of our sit bones. That trunk is nice and vertical. Let's bring those feet out a bit farther from each other. Maintaining that upright position over the front of the sit bones. How straight can you get those knees? Again, we find that point of resistance through the back of the thighs. Maybe those knees are straight. Maybe they're a little bent. Let's float our arms up in line with those legs. Keep that belly drawn in. Let's hinge forward from the hips, reaching our fingertips long in front of our feet. It may be 5 degrees. You may be reaching 30 degrees in front of you. It's all going to depend on our mobility through those hips. Inhale up tall. Exhale, hinge. Again, bend those knees up. Don't be afraid to bend them if you need to. Hinge it forward. Good. Take it up tall. One more time. Hinge it forward. Take it up tall. Let's bring those knees in front. We're going to take our hands to the floor, bend those knees up, and place those toes down on the mat. Feet are parallel to each other. Hips are lined up with our sit bones. Let's hold on behind our thighs and roll those shoulders back and down. Now we'll inch those heels a little closer to our sit bones, angling our bodies slightly backward. Draw that belly in toward the spine. And let's move our hands so they're right at the outsides of the knees. We're going to press our hands and knees toward each other. That's going to take some pressure off the core and let those hips do a little bit of work. With those shoulders drawn back and down, we're going to open that arm closest to the screen, open it to the side. Still look straight forward. You should feel the muscles working in the front side of your trunk on the side where that hand's pressed into your leg. Inhale that arm back to the center. Exhale, switch arms. Hold it here. Again, feel those muscles working on the front side of your trunk facing that screen. Inhale to the center. Exhale and switch. Inhale to the center. Exhale and switch. Let's take that hand right back to the center. We're going to come up nice and tall and take our hands back behind the body. We have a couple of options here. Those fingertips can face our bottoms and our heels, or they could be out to the sides. It's up to you, whatever works best on your wrists with your mobility. We're going to straighten our elbows out and squeeze those shoulder blades together. You will definitely get a stretch over the front of the arm, up by the biceps, maybe even down by the elbow through those biceps where it crosses both of those joints, okay? Totally normal to feel that. Squeeze the blades. You should now get a stretch through your chest muscles, right from the breastbone outward toward that upper front of the shoulder. We're going to angle our breastbone slightly up toward where the wall and ceiling meet in front of us. If you're feeling a nice stretch, hold it here and just take some deep breaths. If you want to take it further, we inch that bottom forward. Again, we're keeping those elbows straight. We're keeping that backward squeeze in the shoulder blades. If this is enough, hold it here. We have 2 more deep breaths to take. If you'd like to take it further, inch your heels closer to the bottom. We could press up toward a reverse tabletop. Optional here. Big breath in. Exhale. One more time, big breath in. As we exhale, slowly lower those bottoms down toward the mat. We're going to turn and face our screen, popping ourselves up into a tall kneeling position. Roll that mat over if you need a little more padding for those knees. Shake out your wrists. Straighten and bend those elbows. Get out of that weight bearing position. We're going to open those palms toward the wall in front of us or toward your screen. Squeeze those blades and let's rotate our forearms and those shoulders a bit. Palms to the screen, palms toward the wall behind. All right, let's take those arms up and overhead. Big breath in. As we exhale, we're going to lean back till we feel those thighs working. And let's take our arms toward our screen. We're going to hold for a big breath in. Hold for a big breath out. Feel those thighs working. Inhale up tall, and we'll take our hands right to our hips. Let's extend one leg out to the side, either in line with your other knee or forward if you tend to cramp through that straight hip. We're going to drop the hips toward the floor and hinge that body forward, finding an inner thigh stretch. Inhale up tall, exhale and hinge. One more time, inhale up tall, exhale, hinge it forward. Good, lengthen through that thigh. Inhale up tall, we'll open those arms out to the side and let's exhale, side bending toward that bent knee. We could lift that leg up if you'd like. We'll inhale up, exhale, side bend. Up and over one more time, side bend, reach. Up and over. All right, let's bring our hands back to our hips and we're gonna switch to our other side. Again, line up that foot wherever you're least likely to cramp through that hip, forward if you need to. Drop those hips so they're squared. Inner thigh stretches as we hinge forward and bring that body up tall. Again, hinge it forward. Bring it up tall. One more time, hinge forward into that inner thigh stretch. Inhale up tall, arms come out to the side, and exhaling, we'll side bend toward that bent knee. Inhale up and exhale over toward that straight leg. One more stretch, then we're gonna make our way down to the mat. Side bend, reach. Take it up and over. Let's come up nice and tall, back to tall kneeling, and then we'll come down onto a side. Rest down on that bottom arm. We're gonna bring our knees forward, heels line up with the bottom. 4 of each. We're gonna roll through these side lying exercises. Take that top hand to the floor, belly draws in, lift up at the waistline, knees come up and down for 4, for 3, for 2. Count with me, it'll help you breathe. Knees down, feet lift, feet come down. Feet lift, feet lower. Last 2. Last 1, bring them down. Standard clam, top knee alone comes up and down for 4, for 3, for 2, for 1. Knees come down, feet stay up. Again, that top knee comes up and down. Feel that hip working from the side around toward the glutes. One more time, lift and lower, knees come down, fire hydrant. Whole top leg comes up and down for 4, for 3, for 2, for 1. Keep those knees bent, straighten the bottom leg out. Top toes stay on that bottom knee. Take the knee down and up for 4, for 3, for 2, for 1. Straighten that top leg out. Take it up and down. Lift and lower. Trunk stays still. Lift and lower to hip height. Circle forward. Here's 4, 3, 2. Reverse it. 4, 3, 2. Hold it there. Bottom leg comes up to meet the top leg. Let's take them down and up. Last 8, 7. Pull from that bottom inner thigh. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Take them down. Bend those knees up. Pat out that hip. Let's take our top arm forward. We're going to reach it up to the ceiling. Big breath in. Exhale. Take that breastbone. Rotate it, opening toward the ceiling. You are welcome to take that arm back as far toward the floor as you're comfortable going. Inhale, arm to the ceiling. Exhale it forward. Let's push ourselves up and over to the other side. Great job. We are almost through. Rest on that bottom arm. Heels and bottom line up. Lift up that waistline. Draw that belly in. Top hand presses down. Knees lift and lower for 4, for 3, for 2, for 1. Knees stay down. Feet lift up and down for 4, for 3, for 2, for 1. Knees come down. Feet come down. Top knee alone presses up and down. 3, 2, and 1. Knee comes down. Feel that hip working. Feet lift. Again, that top knee comes up and down. Here's 3. Bottom legs working as well. Last 1. Knees and feet come down. Top leg lifts up entirely. Take that knee up and down. Fire hydrant lift. Here's 4, 3, 2, 1 to hip height. Straighten out that bottom leg, top toe presses into the bottom knee. Knee comes down and up for 4. Press your bottom leg down. 3, 2, and 1. Straighten out that top leg, take it up and down. Lift and lower, trunk stays still. Lift and lower, circle, forward for 4. Hand could be down for support if you need it. 2 and 1, reverse it. Here's 4, 3, 2, and 1. Let's bring that bottom leg up to meet the top leg. Both come down and up. Last 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Take those knees down, bend them up, pat out that hip. Let's reach that arm forward. Inhale it to the ceiling. Exhale, breastbone rotates to the ceiling. Take that arm down toward the mat through a comfortable yet stretching range. Inhale, arm to the ceiling. Exhale it forward. All right, let's turn on our backs. Bend those knees, lining our heels up with our sit bones. Arms are away from the body. Take a big breath in. Exhale, we're going to cross one ankle to the other knee. Lift up into that figure 4 stretch if you need to pull more. Big breath in. Hold on the exhale. One more time, big breath in. Exhale, switch them up. Cross that opposite leg over. Add the lift if you'd like. Big breath in. Big breath out. One more time, big breath in. Exhale. Let's unwind those knees, give them a nice hug. Feet come down. We're going to turn onto our side facing our screen. Let's push ourselves up to sitting. And we'll finish either in cross-leg sitting or with our knees up in front, feet pressing into the floor in front of us, whatever is most comfortable for you. We're going to get our center of gravity right over the front of those sit bones and our hands down by our sides. Let's roll those shoulders up, back, and down for 4, for 3, for 2, and for 1. Big breath in, arms come up and overhead. Press those palms together as the fingertips reach up. And we'll exhale our hands into our center. Happy Friday, everybody. Thanks as always for coming.